Hello guys, Mary here, and welcome back to my channel. It has been a hot minute since I posted, and I am really excited to get back into YouTube. I know that I've only posted like 3 videos before this one, but I am really excited to get started. I have lots of video ideas for you coming up, and I am going to be posting Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from here on out. Let's get started. So today's video is going to be about my birth story with Jack. It's a little weird for me because usually people do their birth stories fairly shortly after they have their babies, but mine is 6 months old now. So I guess we're just going to have to roll with it. I'll give you a little sneak peek of him at the end if you stay until then. Alright, so let's just dive right into it. So to start my story, on my 39-week appointment, which was a Monday, I went to my doctor's, and at 39 weeks you can choose to get your cervix swept or not. I said yes please because I was hoping that it would help induce my labor. So I go in and the doctor tells me that unfortunately my cervix are quite closed because Jack is not yet low enough to be pushing them down to do the sweep, so there was nothing that they were able to do. So we book another appointment for 1 week later, and he says as I leave that he's really hoping that I don't have to come back for that appointment next week. So I'm thinking in my head, oh boy, me and neither. I would really like to have my son this week sometime. So every single day I'm like, it's gonna be tonight, it's gonna be today, I'm having Braxton Hicks, it's gonna be now, I know it's gonna be tonight, I just have a feeling. I was doing every single thing in my power to get myself into labor. I was going for walks, I was dancing in my living room, I was bouncing on my exercise ball, I was eating spicy foods, I was drinking raspberry tea, and then the big one, I drank a bottle of castor oil. Yes I did. I regretted it. I was in the bathroom for like 2 days after that, and it did not help me to get induced at all. I will never do that again. So just a disclaimer for anybody who's thinking about trying it, please don't try it. It's not a good idea. After that, on the Friday, I had given up. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna let him come on his own. He will come when he is ready. And that's what my family kept telling me. That's what Jaden kept telling me. I just needed to accept that he was gonna be here when he decided that it was the right time. I was at my grandma's for lunch October 18th. It was a Friday. And at around 4 o'clock, I was like, okay, well, I better get home, start making dinner for Jaden and I. And I just had to go to the bathroom first. So I went to the washroom, I stand up, and I peed. Or so I thought, again. And I realized my water had just broken. It was weird because I was so sure that it was going to be like the big Niagara Falls that everybody tells you about, or that it was just going to be a big gush of water. But for me, it was almost like I peed my pants after I went pee. So I come out of the bathroom and I say, Grandma, I have to go. I think my water just broke. She says, okay, we'll chat soon. Let me know what you're doing, how you're getting to Kamloops. If you need help, let us know. I'm like, okay, for sure, of course. I go home, into the bathroom, and I'm sitting there because I'm like, I don't want to be leaking all over the place. I don't know what's actually going on. It is still leaking everywhere. I'm sorry this is too much information, but this is a birth story, so you know what you're signing up for. So then I call 811 and I say, hey, I have had these things happen to me this week. This is what I've done. This is what just happened. What do I do? And the guy on the phone says, you need to get to your doctor within the hour. And I start to panic. I'm like, oh, okay, this is serious. We need to get on it and we need to go now. I'm a little bit worried and I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So first thing I do, I call Jaden. I'm like, hey honey, my water broke. The health nurse line says that I need to get to Kamloops to the hospital within the hour. So I'm gonna call my mom, she'll give me a ride, where are you at? He is just passing through Kamloops to get home. So I say, if you want, you can wait there and I'll pick you up, or we can meet at the hospital or whatever. I'm like, he's like, let me know what you're doing. I'm like, of course. I just have to call my mom. I just need to see what she's doing, and then I'll call you back and let you know what's going on. So I call my mom, no answer. She's not answering her phone. She's not answering her text messages. I am calling her and calling her and calling her. I'm calling my grandma. Can you get a hold of mom? I'm calling my brother. Have you talked to mom? I cannot get a hold of anybody. Half an hour goes by and I'm like, okay, like I'm supposed to be in Kamloops in half an hour and it's a 45-minute drive. So finally, my mom answers the phone. She says, hey, I'm so sorry, I was in a meeting. I'll come pick you up right now. So we go, we're on our way to Kamloops. Jaden decided not to wait in Kamloops and we kind of met him about halfway. We went to Kamloops, and because my contractions were 30 minutes apart still, my mom decided, let's go have some dinner. In my pajamas, in my red plaid fuzzy shirt and my purple pajama pants, I am sitting in Red Robin's having dinner while still leaking fluid because my water broke. Dinner was great. I enjoyed it. I'm really glad that I went and had dinner. So then we go to the hospital. It's about 7:30 at night now. And they say, okay, we're gonna check your cervix and we're gonna do a test swab to see if it's actually your water that has broken. And I say, okay, great. They check my cervix and they say, okay, you're about 2 centimeters and let's check your water. So they check my water. It had broken, but they were unable to admit me into the hospital at that point because I was so early on in my labor. They say, okay, go home for the night. If anything changes, come back. And if not, please be back here by 8 a.m. so that we can get ready to induce you, because now that your water has broken, there is an increased risk of infection due to there not being that seal there anymore between your baby. And also, it can kind of encourage your baby to go to the bathroom inside you, which is not what we want, because that can cause infection also. So we go get a hotel for the night. I could not sleep. My contractions started to get 15 to 20 minutes apart. I was having a really hard time getting comfortable. I had to pee every 5 minutes. It wasn't working. At 1, I kind of fell asleep for like maybe 3 hours, and then I woke up at 4. I'll just watch some Netflix and let everybody sleep so that everybody else can get rest. Yes, I like to worry about other people when I am in labor. At 6 o'clock, I make my mom go with me and get some breakfast and eat a little bit, and then we go back to the hotel and we wake up Jaden to get ready to go to the hospital at around 7:30. So we go to the hospital. I was a little bit worried because my discharge was a little bit discolored, and it was like I was scared that maybe he did go to the bathroom and I was going to now get infected. That was not happening, and it was all going to be okay. They don't want to check me again because of the risk of infection because of the breakage of the seal there. So they say, okay, we're gonna do some exercises. We did some exercises on the bed, where I'm like on my hands and knees, kind of twisting and kind of massaging, being pushed around and just kind of moving because he was not quite where he needed to be. He was off to the side, twisted, but he just needed to be moved this way. I do some exercises. They say, okay, come back in an hour, go for a walk, get things kind of moving, burn some of your energy. I'm like, girl, I ain't got no energy right now. We went for a walk, but we also sat down for a while so I could just relax. And then because I hadn't walked very much, Jaden decided, all right, we are going to hike 10 flights of stairs to get things going. I wanted to die. I was tired. He's telling me, oh, it's not that bad. and I'm saying, you don't have an extra 60 pounds on the front of your freaking body right now going up these stairs. I was not having it, but I did it. And then we went back to the ward. They said, okay, let's do those exercises again. So we did these exercises all over again. And then they sent me into the shower and they gave me an exercise ball. And they said, you are going to sit on this exercise ball and you are going to do figure eights in the shower for half an hour to 45 minutes. I'm like, that sounds easy enough. So I go in the shower. I'm bouncing on the ball. Jaden's in there with me hanging out so that I'm not by myself. Finally, I finish in the shower. Still nothing's really moving. It's been probably 22 to 23 hours at this point. So they finally admit me because now, after 24 hours, if nothing has progressed, they have to induce me due to my water being broken prior to going into active labor. So I get my own room, they get me on oxytocin, they get my IV set up. They make sure that I'm comfortable. I'm sitting there for a little while. Once the oxytocin is in, I'm not really allowed to move around for half an hour just to make sure that everything is like okay. So I have to lay in bed, and a few hours goes by and they say, okay, your contractions seem to be progressing quite quickly. How many do you think you're having every 10 minutes? And I said, I don't know, like 2 to 3. And she's like, oh, so you're not feeling some of them? And I'm like, what do you mean I'm not? She said I was having 6 within a 10-minute period, so they were going to take me off of the oxytocin. The oxytocin is what your body produces to help you go into labor, and that's what they were putting into my body to help my labor kind of activate and get going. So they take me off the oxytocin, and then my contractions start to spread out to 15 minutes again. I am not excited. I went for a walk. I did some more exercises in the hallway. Then at around 8 o'clock, they put me back on oxytocin because they're like, okay, well, clearly taking you off it isn't working. We need to get things going. They double my dose, put me back on it, get me in bed. By 9 o'clock, the doctor comes in and says, okay, we're going to check your cervix again just to kind of see how things are moving along. I'm like, great. I want to know how far I am. I'm hoping I'm at a 5 or a 6. My contractions are not fun. They are painful, but I am holding it back because I am too embarrassed to admit that to anybody that I'm in pain. I just am one of those people that really just doesn't like to show that I'm uncomfortable. And so the doctor comes in and she checks my cervix and she goes, you're maybe at a 2. I started to cry because it had been 29 hours of labor and uncomfortableness and not sleeping, and I had not progressed even a little bit. And that was really, really hard for me to hear. Then she says, okay, we're just gonna go get the other doctor just so that we can kind of get a second opinion. So she brings the other doctor in and they check me again. And let me tell you, getting your cervix checked is one of the most uncomfortable things that I think that I had during that, besides the contractions. So I started to cry and I was upset, and I didn't know if that meant that they were gonna have to give me an emergency C-section. I was really, really, really wanting to have him as naturally as I could. Like, as long as I was having a vaginal birth, I was happy. And because I had not progressed at all, I was very afraid that I wasn't gonna get to do that. So they leave for a little while, and my contractions are getting worse. They are getting so bad, and I am screaming and I am crying and I don't know what to do. And I feel like I cannot do it anymore. I'm tired. It's really difficult going through that and feeling like there is literally nothing that you can do except live it out and just push through that pain.
How do you like your arm? Where's the best feeling?
I don't give a fuck right now. And so the doctor comes in and she says, if you'd like, we can give you an early epidural. And I'm like, no, I do not want an early epidural, because I heard that getting an epidural too early can cause labor to slow down and take much longer. And considering it had been 30 hours at this point, I didn't want to be doing this any longer. I just wanted him to get out, and it was evacuation time and I needed him out of my body. I was tired and exhausted. So about another hour goes by. We are 31 hours in and I am crying. I am on the bed pushing through these contractions. Jaden is trying to soothe me and I don't want to talk to anybody. I just don't want to listen to anybody. All I can think about when my contraction ends is, okay, breathe and relax until that next contraction comes, and then you need to push through it, because it is so much harder than anybody ever told me that it would be. So at around 1 a.m, would have been about 34 hours in, they come in and I said, I need an epidural. I cannot do this anymore. I can't do it. Please give me an epidural. They say, okay, the anesthesiologist is going to be a little while. Do you need a shot of fentanyl for the time being? And I'm like, I'd prefer not to, but because the doctor was going to be about a half an hour and I didn't think that I was going to be able to do it that long, I said, okay. So they gave me a shot in my side, which kind of helped to relieve some pain. But earlier in the labor, they had given me Tylenol, Gravol, laughing gas, and morphine. So I was shaking, shivering. I wasn't cold, I wasn't hot, but I was shaking. I was like this. I couldn't stop shaking, and it was so scary. I didn't know what to do. My face was itchy because of the morphine. And so finally, the anesthesiologist comes in, and he gets ready to give me the epidural and put it in my back. And so I have to get up on the side of the bed and I have to hunch like this so that it kind of spreads everything out, and so that he is able to get a clear spot for the epidural. So they wipe my back down and get ready for the epidural, but I needed a nurse to hold me down on one side and Jaden to hold me down on the other side because I was shaking so badly. It was horrible. People say that getting the epidural hurts, but I promise you, it's like somebody giving you a tiny little pinch on your back. And then I didn't even know that he had done it. I was like, okay, are you gonna put it in now? And he was like, it's done. We're finished. You can lay down. So I'm like, oh my God. And within a matter of seconds, I started to feel relief. I laid back and I fell asleep so fast. I was out like a light. And then an hour later, the doctor comes back and she wakes me up. It's 2:30 in the morning. And she says, okay, I'm just going to check you because it looks like your contractions are starting to be more consistent and quite close together, so you might be ready to go soon. And I'm like, what? It's been an hour. How? So she checks me. I'm at a 10 and I am ready to push. So I call my mom. She comes back from the hotel and we get ready. And I pushed for 45 minutes and he was out. And it was so weird because I thought that during an epidural you can't feel anything, but I can feel the tightening of my stomach during each contraction, but I just couldn't feel any pain. So that was super weird for me. And then there was a point where I was like, I have to push. I cannot hold it back. My body is telling me to push. So I am pushing and pushing, and I got him out, and he was and is so beautiful. and I am so, so grateful that I had my mom and Jaden by my side to literally cheer me on and say, "Wow, you can do it, you're doing it, push, push, push." It was so, so motivating for me, and I'm so glad that I got to have them there for that. And then so I did tear just a little bit, like just like a couple stitches. It was nothing major. I was still able to like go to the bathroom, no problem. I'm so grateful for that because I know there are some women that rip really bad. And I went to sleep for a few hours and then woke up and we tried to breastfeed, and Jack wouldn't latch very well because my nipples are not the right shape, I guess, and made it really difficult for him. And because he didn't eat right away, he started to get jaundice, so he was turning a little bit yellow. And the nurses were very consistent on trying to make sure he is breastfeeding, but he just wasn't latching. So we would hand pump into a spoon and we would feed him through a spoon, and we would give him 10 milliliters of formula to kind of make sure he was getting that food that he needed. We were still able to leave the next day. So I had him at 3:29 a.m. on October 20th of 2019. And the Monday night, I was able to go home with him, and things have only been going uphill ever since. And we are so excited to have the most amazing child that we could ever have. And I am just so happy to have him here. That's it for my story. All right, like I promised, you guys could meet the man himself. He is the sweetest little babe. He is 6 months and about a week and a half old now, and he is so sweet. Getting very talkative. He is so much bigger than he was when he was born. He was 7 pounds, 11 ounces, and now he is probably close to 18 or 19 pounds. I haven't weighed him in a while, but you're getting so big. Yeah. Well, anyways, guys, thanks so much for listening to my story, and I can't wait to hear some of your guys' stories. Are you all right? Thanks so much for watching. If you want to leave a comment below and tell me a little bit about your story or when your children were born, I would love to read about them and like and comment back to you and chat with you guys. Make sure to like and subscribe to my channel. I will be uploading every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and we'll see you in a couple of days. Have a good one.